Hey y'all! If you haven't seen the first video, go watch that first. But just a quick recap of the events of the tournament so far. I lost my first game, but then in loser's bracket I won my next 2 matches. Alright, let's jump right into my next match against my next opponent, Paranoid Monk, a Terran player with an MMR of 2873. Actually, this game wasn't really all that interesting. I out-macroed him and then I won. There really isn't too much to say about it. And also I've run out of video making time, I'm sorry. But the next match, this match was against Kwantu, who is a Terran player with an MMR of... I'm sorry, does that say 3920? Oh, fuck. As you already know, I usually open the exact same way against every opponent, but I actually gambled a little bit in my opening for this game by completely disregarding early game scouting. This lets me keep an extra worker at home to make me a little bit more money at the cost of not knowing what my opponent is doing for his opening. But I decide this is a risk worth taking because my opponent is rated way higher than me, so I'm already gonna need to get a little bit lucky to win. The first exciting moment comes when my opponent sends a bunch of units across the map to try to harass me, but since I have my early defenses up, he can't really break in. Wait, my workers are under attack? Oh, he has a Liberator harassing my workers! While I'm busy trying to deal with the Liberator, he rushes my front door with his other units and starts attacking my other worker line. In the end, I managed to kill all of his units, but he does pretty good damage to my workers. As I continue to build up my base, I make the decision to get 2 armories earlier than usual. This is another gamble. Basically, at the cost of having a smaller army now, I will have a stronger army later. Eventually, my opponent decides to attack my 3rd base. I had tanks set up to defend it, but my opponent disables them before moving in with his army. I managed to disable his tanks as well, which keeps my army competitive with his, allowing me to cleanly defend this attack. As a general rule, it's pretty safe to expand to a new base location right after defending an attack, so I do exactly that and take my 4th base while also starting a 5th. I'm starting to be in a pretty decent spot in this game. My upgrades are coming along, my economy is booming, and my production is pumping units. Soon after, my opponent attacks my 4th base location, but my planetary fortress deters his forward push and my army is coming soon to reinforce. My army is coming soon to reinforce. There they are. This is a fight I can win, so I siege my tanks and I go for it. But then my opponent does something that I didn't expect. He loads up 2 medevacs full of marines and sends them into my main base. Despite crushing his army out here, my immobile mech army just isn't able to get back home in time to defend. Fortunately, my opponent made some mistakes during this exchange. First, he decided to target some less important structures, so the overall damage he dealt to me was actually quite minimal. Second, a bit of miscontrol caused him to lose a half-full medevac and nearly lose the other one as well. Now, with only 5 marines left, he's not really able to do too much damage to me. He parks his medevac between my 2 bases, out of range of any of my attacks. Now I know exactly what he's doing here. He's going to attack me somewhere else and then move in with this medevac again once I'm distracted. Oh, what do you know? He's attacking my 5th base. Is he in my main base too? Yup, there he is. But like I said, there just isn't enough marines in my main base to deal any significant damage, so I focus on the bigger army that's knocking on my front door. I kind of block my own units with my own tanks on this ramp here, but it doesn't even matter because mech is so much better than bio. I successfully defend against this army, and then I pick off the tiny force in my base. So what's the count after all this? Well, I lost my 5th base, which is definitely not great, but it's not the worst thing in the world. I have a lot of resources saved up, so I'm not exactly starved at the moment. With that said, it is my #1 priority to get a new base up and running as soon as possible. On the bright side, my level 3 upgrades are halfway done, and once those are finished, it will become near impossible for my opponent to trade favorably against my army. But on the downside, I haven't done any scouting in this game, so I actually have no idea what position my opponent is in. But judging by the sizes of the armies he's been attacking me with, I would estimate my opponent to also be on about 4 to 5 bases. A couple minutes later, my opponent attacks me again, and hey, is it just me? Or are these attacks getting smaller? Weird. My opponent begins to retreat, and I begin to chase. At 14 minutes and 47 seconds into the game, I take my very first step onto my opponent's half of the map. It's my turn to attack. The first attack I send doesn't do any real damage, but that's okay, because that wasn't the point. The point was just to start trading on his side of the map. In response, my opponent attacks me again, but my production is just pumping out so many upgraded units that the fights aren't even close. My superior mech army steamrolls right through his shitty bio army. Alright, cool, let's go attack him again. This time, I brought some tanks. But honestly, I didn't bring enough. I only brought 3, which is not enough to break his wait a minute. He's pulling his workers to help him defend, which will actually just make him lose all of them. He's definitely really far behind in economy now. And on the contrary, I'm happily taking more and more bases and pumping out more and more army. Here we go. I got a whole new army, and actually, it looks like he's got one too. Where did he get all that money from? Finally, how many armies did I throw at him? Like 4? Anyway, let's get rid of his economy. Kill this space, and then kill this space, and then... Oh my god! Breathe, John! Breathe! I can't believe it! I just beat someone ranked almost 700 points higher than me! That's just incredible! I'm doing way better at this tournament than all my wildest imaginationings. And unfortunately, this is where this video must end because, well, spoiler alert, but my tournament run lasts long enough to warrant a whole nother video. I'll try to have this one done faster than a whole 3 weeks, but you know, holidays are coming up and all, so it's hard to say. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and subscribe so you don't miss the final video of the Starcraft saga, which will actually definitely be the final video this time. Seriously.